So a lot of people spend a lot of time praying, and I wanted to explore whether that's a good use of time. We all got limited time to spend on this planet, and is praying even productive? And does it actually yield an outcome? I want to explore all those possibilities. So I'm thinking about three different scenarios, and I'll go through those one by one. The first one is, it seems one possibility is there may not be any God. If you were to try to interpret the scientific model of reality, that may be one possible conclusion, and it's not an unreasonable one. However, to people who spend their time praying, that's not a very interesting possibility. I mean, they already know that possibility, but yet they choose to spend time praying, so that means that they have faith, right? So let's try to move to more interesting possibilities then. The second is, there is a God. However, that God who created everything, you, your parents, the whole Earth, the solar system, the galaxy, the super galaxy clusters, that creator likely has a plan and has a scope of vision that's much broader than yours, right? So there is an interconnected web of events across time and spatial scale that we can't even comprehend. Right, so we are essentially making an assumption that within our narrow sort of scope of vision, what we think is how events should be happening, right, according to our ways. So essentially, you're asking the creator to perturb the existing plan of action on a grand scale just to accommodate your wishes and desires. I wouldn't presume to know more than the person who created everything. Right, so in that scheme of things, it seems it wouldn't make sense to try to perturb the pre-existing plan through my prayers, right? So that's another possibility. The third one is maybe that creator is a non-interventionist creator, in the sense that he created the preconditions for the universe to emerge, for the Boltzmann constant and the gravitational constant and all those things, that physical laws that make everything possible, and then after that he just let it be, right, without any active intervention. And that seems to make sense, right? Like if you think about it, all those wars happening, hundreds of people dying in airplane crashes, all of that stuff, like, it doesn't make sense. Now, in certain scheme of things, like in Hinduism, you could say, well, that was their karma, but then no compassionate being would want their kids to die such horrible deaths like the ones that we are seeing in different wars and crashes and accidents and things like that. If it is truly a creator that created everything, they wouldn't actively want such a fate on their creation. So in that sense, it doesn't make sense either. So from my perspective, it makes sense that if there is a God, perhaps it's a non-interventionist kind of God, right? So you look at those Rick and Morty cartoons, and there's an episode where Rick creates a battery that has different universes emerging, evolving within itself, and then there's a nano universe and a micro universe that sort of emerges within it. So that could be one possibility. It's perfectly reasonable within a scientific worldview that we could have a supranatural entity that's perhaps much more intelligent than us, that could have created us, right? So the existence of a God isn't necessarily outside the bounds of scientific realms of reality. Like, think about it. If we can create ChatGPT and Alexa and Google Assistant and Siri and Boston Dynamics things that can move and run and dance in a pretty smooth way, and then we can put it all together where it speaks like Siri, moves like Boston Dynamic dogs, and has a skin graft that looks like humans, like one of those robotoids that you see on YouTube, then I mean, if we can create that, then it's perfectly reasonable to assume that we could be that creation in somebody else's image as well, right? So in that perspective, it's not necessarily outside the realm of scientific possibility that there could be a God, but if there is, then at least from the prayer standpoint, it doesn't seem like it's a actively intervening kind of God. In all these possibilities, the first possibility being that there not being any God, the second being there is a God, but he has a great plan of action that we don't really have a scope of vision and access to. And in the third one, if it's a non-interventionist God, then your prayers aren't really going anywhere either. So from all these three perspectives, it seems like praying is a futile exercise. The very limited time that you got, spend it on good deeds, whatever those are, being kind to your fellow human beings, instead of praying. Because as a scientist, praying's kind of like writing grant proposals. They don't get funding, and no matter how hard you try, and so it's possible that your prayers are not going to get funded either. All right.